Really, this one here. So on the left-hand side is you got the story behind, what Jason just talked through. They have open source. You can do open source community type stuff, or you can use Nvidia's AI Enterprise software, as he mentioned, on top of this stack. The Nvidia AI Enterprise software stack from Nvidia is fully supported with their AI engineers. It's the security patching, it's the life cycle, it's the container, the NeMo side of things. It's the full software stack from Nvidia. And then on the right hand side here really is the time of adoption. Everybody knows about the SaaS services, right? The Google Bard or the Geminis now, the Chat GPT, the co-pilots. It's basically a consumption model. You can pay the premium software subscriptions on that, but it's a consumption model. It's the fastest to market. I really like this because it's quick. But obviously, there's data privacy concerns. Everybody knows about this stuff. You can upload some, a few things to it to help it learn, but there's not really any customizations you can do from that standpoint. It's a consumption-based model, right? So the GPT in a box and what Nutanix is doing, in my mind, kind of falls into the middle, where it's more moderate customization. This is courtesy of Nvidia for these type of models, where you can easily bring in an LLM. You can customize it to your needs. Then, for the training, there's two sides of this. Take a step back. There's training and there's inference. You probably heard Jason mention it. Training is where you're taking the time to train the model to do what you want it to do, right? So you have to train these models. You have to feed information to them, customize them, get them ready to actually do the inferencing, and actually bringing the value to the business from that side of things. So we fall more into the modern customization. And then, one thing I would probably add to this as well, it's not on that slide from NVIDIA there, is really the data privacy concerns, right? So on the bottom arrow, as you go to, or the top arrow, as you go to the SaaS model, you're going to have more of that data leakage, right? You get more risk. You can't be doing that in these public models and uploading your own customer information or your enterprise information to those, especially healthcare. God forbid, you can't be doing patient diagnosis and uploading that to a public model. So you need this private model, this private solution for being able to deliver that, right? So data security, privacy is kind of key there that I put there, because in my mind, that's where you really get into what Nutanix is helping us with here, right? For that private in there. So, what does this look like? Just a little bit back, you got vGPU and you got direct pass-through. The GPT models, the GPT in a box, these are direct pass-through, right? You go directly to the GPU, you're doing your thing. A lot of the other aspects that I work with on the UC side is vGPU, where we're slicing it up. Higher density, taking advantage of that GPU from multiple virtual machines. So, from an NVIDIA aspects, both are obviously in play depending on the use case. You got the virtual workstation RTX side of things. This is all the software licensing I was talking about. Now we got the NVIDIA AI Enterprise. It's all software license. The only difference, the AI Enterprise is per GPU. Virtual workstation in any of those models for EUC are either per user or per VM from a licensing aspect, but just know that this kind of gives a synopsis of what that looks like with the vGPU piece between that and the hypervisor and what that gives you. And basically, CUDA-X is the base libraries on top of CUDA, and then the full NVIDIA enterprise support with their AI experts and whatnot. So NVIDIA is obviously top of the game here, so you're welcome to use obviously the NVIDIA AI Enterprise on a per GPU basis with the Nutanix solution, right? So, and then the other thing, if you haven't heard of it, I'm not going to dive into this, but the NeMo framework comes with the NVIDIA AI Enterprise. It's really the start to finish, soup to nuts, everything you would need to deploy, to train, deploy, do anything from a generative AI or an AI standpoint within the enterprise. This is their newly announced GA at GTC for what they're doing in NVIDIA AI Enterprise. And then taking a further step back, what GPU do you need? NVIDIA has all kinds of GPUs. You've probably seen that. We got in 2 days' time, we got NVIDIA coming out with their next earnings report, and everybody's kind of looking forward to that, and because the Nasdaq comes and goes with where NVIDIA goes, but their Blackwells are delayed right now, and so every answers there because NVIDIA owning that market, they have an assortment of GPUs, and what do you need is critical there, right? So, you have some on the far right-hand side of this, which pretty much plays for the EUC side that we've been talking about a long time. You got some that are graphics focused, some that are compute focused, some that are both. Which a common one there is that L40S right in the middle. It's kind of known as the universal GPU. The Blackwell isn't on this chart, but those are the ones that everybody's looking forward to for the most highest precision, big time AI. You're talking about exaflops of AI performance, right? So 30 terabytes of fast memory on those. All of these, the terminology over here, AI is a whole new world, basically, right? With IT, with the terminology and things you got to learn with the floating point calculations. You got single precision, which is the 32. You got double. You got half. All of these matter in the AI world to folks like Jason. He's an AI expert. He's come from that world. I am not. I'm new. I've been in the NVIDIA side of things for a long time, but AI and everything that you got to worry about from that aspect, it's different technical functionality and measurements here, the things that you got to think about more, right? So, whereas on the visual, I might be worried about, do I support AV1 or not from an encoder? How many encoders and decoders do I have on that GPU? For AI, that's not really as big of a thing that I'm worried about. It's more about how much bandwidth is NVLink in play, is the floating point memory, and all of this stuff comes into play, right? So, for us, it's really with the GPT in a box. I know the big popular one right now is the L40S, which really came about with, honestly, the delays in the A100s and the H100s, which is the same thing. Customers having a hard time getting their hands on that stuff, to a point where those cards, I think the CEO of Cisco at one point was saying they were bringing them in. They brought them in with armored cars for those GPUs. They were so hard to get a hold of. So the L40S is known as really the universal GPU, which can do just on both sides of the house, graphics, compute. It's a popular offering in the Nvidia or in the Nutanix hardware offerings. I know GPT in a box is a big one. They might still have the A30s, A40s as options, but the L40S, the L4 is more of an EUC play. That was a very popular one for us on the graphics side of things that we're doing a lot with. The L40 was just kind of that predecessor to the L40S. But as you go further from there, it's more of the compute heavy, obviously more expensive offerings from that standpoint. But really, just to give you a look here at what these, what these are, you got a lot of different metrics here. All of this matters, right? So all of this is very, very important when you're getting down to just brass tacks on which GPU to pick, which is the best offering for you from an NVIDIA standpoint. What's important there, right, for us. All of this is what goes into the Nutanix sizing for GPT in a box, for example, or for us doing EUC for visual and graphics, and what the AI at the endpoint might look like from an EUC standpoint, right? So both sides of the house. As I mentioned, the encode, the decode engines, the AV1 encode and decode support. These are the newest ones. Like, for example, with Citrix, that support AV1. So yeah, this is a credible GPU. And what does that actually look like? There you go. It's a very small form factor. This also comes into play. It's a one slot PCI card versus the bigger one, as you can see to the right. It's a full height, full length card, more wattage, all this stuff. So, I just wanted to talk a little bit about there and the play there from an NVIDIA standpoint. It's something I've been passionate about for quite some time. It's just come to the forefront again in a different aspect now with AI. But there's still quite a few of the gamers out there using NVIDIA cards in their home PCs for gaming. So